it gets good after 100 hours. A phrase said by many in the gaming community about X game. And while this is true about a lot of games, it begs the question as to why. Why does it take 100 hours for the game to get good? Why can it not get good in the first hour? It obviously is doing something right if it becomes good after 100. Due to this being such a common phrase and the Western release of Lost Ark, I, a humble clown, would like to give my opinion of Lost Ark after playing it for 100 hours. Now, please take this video with a grain of salt, as I will provide a non-biased conclusion at the end, but the video will be filled with my personal opinions on top of some major and minor points that you will come across in this game. We will be starting off with what I enjoy about the game, followed by what I dislike about it, and then I'll touch on what the end game actually is, and then I'll wrap it up with a sound conclusion. Now, the question resides, should you play Lost Ark, and how good is it? Lost Ark is a top-down, click-to-move Korean MMORPG. If you want to quickly compare it to something for evaluation, an ARPG or an MMORPG are things like Diablo and Path of Exile. To get this all started off, one of the best things about the game is that it's free to play, meaning you don't gotta buy the game or pay a subscription to play it, just download and go. Now, with any free-to-play game, there will always be a microtransaction, but we'll cover on that later. So, the pros. The game looks stunning. Its graphics and music are top-notch. I personally don't like top-down view, but even I am taken back by the landscape and scenery sometimes with it. So, if you are someone who graphics mean a lot to, they got you covered. Just don't focus too heavily on the cutscenes because sheesh, I've seen way too many eyelids cut through some eyeballs. Now, in terms of raw combat or raw gameplay, it's actually kind of fun. The abilities feel super nice and powerful. Nothing feels that it doesn't have some sort of impact, unless we're talking about auto attacks. Those are so useless in terms of damage, like holy cow hearts. There are a plethora of classes to choose from to fit your fighting style, and they cover just about every base for it too. And since there is no real parsing or no holy trinity into a team comp, you can play just about whatever you want. And you'll be perfectly fine in the end game. Even in like the high end game, like the final end game, you'll be perfectly fine. Just pick whatever you like most and play it to your heart's content. They even offer a trial for each character before you actually choose your class, so it really helps that. The game also heavily suggests making an ult by giving you level skip options once you reach level 50 for the first time. So if you're someone who doesn't like really settling for one class, you're going to be fine. There is also a lot to do in the game. If you really cared for it, you would probably never run out of things to do, whether it be exploring, life scaling, combat, raiding. There's always something to do in the game, and there's always something that needs to be done. With that in mind, I want to move on to the topic of PvP. This game has an amazing PvP system, and honestly, for an MMORPG, one of the most balanced in terms of it only takes skill. Your gear has no effect on the PvP whatsoever. They do this by providing 340 skill points and some odd amount of stat points, I think it's like 1,000 or something, that you can make a PvP profile with. So there will never be a gear advantage, only a skill advantage. Now, I can't comment on their MMR system as of making this video. They don't have a rank system in the game, but it is going to be introduced in a future patch. They just wanted time for everything to set in. I would like to also add maybe one con to the balance side of things, and that its CC system kind of sucks. And in a team comp that doesn't like have full synergy, you can just be staggered, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can be thrown in the air and then staggered for your entire HP bar. and there's literally nothing you can do because you're just going to be perma-CC'd and you can't do any form of CC immunity. The only way to save yourself is via your teammates, but if you're solo queuing, you can't really rely on your teammates. Most aspects of this game are extremely well rounded, as it's been out for a while in other regions, and they're honestly a whole lot of fun, especially for my tiny monkey brain, with numbers just keep getting larger and larger, whether it be my gear score or just damage numbers. Now, to get the con started and out of the way, the most important one I want to get out of the way is the game is pay to win, but it's more in the pay to progress way than you can only get stronger items in the game via paying with money. No matter how you look at it, though, it's pay to win. You can with real life dollar bills buy in-game currency and use that in the auction house. That doesn't get any more pay to win than that. Not to mention that you've got a secret shop that you can buy things to get gear progression with, once again, currency you obtain by spending real life money. Now, in no way does paying to win actually provide a real advantage in the true in-game, only getting there. What may take a free-to-play player 6 months to get in terms of gear could only take a pay-to-win person 1 day. That's just how it goes when games are free-to-play and manipulative over their player base for its money. Which will lead into the second con, gear honing. Or gear progression in this game is, in this game, once you get to level 50, you unlock a set of armor called Tier 1 armor. To progress, you need to hone or upgrade it to plus 15. Then you can unlock the ability to get Tier 2 equipment. And I will say right now, I hate any system with RNG progression. The fact that I can be gated from content simply because of a coin toss is absurd. Especially when it comes to later stages in the game like Tier 2 or Tier 3, when you're only getting 1 or 2 upgrades a day, when in total you need like 105 or something like that, and those 2 upgrades can both fail, meaning you gain nothing that day because RNG is just like, hey, fuck you. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure Lost Ark lies about the rates because in the gear said it had a 90% chance to succeed, and I failed that 7 times in a row, which, I mean, statistically is possible, but, I mean, I'd probably have a better chance of winning the lottery. Now, away from gear progression, because I could rant about that for several hours, the next con is extremely personal, so take it with as much salt that you could scare a League of Legends player with. The game is click to move, meaning you can use your mouse to click on a spot and move there. And on practice, that isn't bad. Plenty of games are like that, and some people love that. And if you do, then this isn't really a con, it's a pro. However, my issue with it is click to move feature, you are clicking on an area and then an AI is making a path to best get you there. And in a game where the exact pixel you're standing matters, or how you get there matters, it's extremely bad. Because the AI for moving, it's completely garbage. Especially when you're comparing it to WASD movement like other MMOs, where you get full control of when, where, and how you get somewhere. There are a lot of minute complaints I could give, like the hotkeys being unresponsive, the game freezing whenever you pull open a window, the fact that you can't run some content more than twice a day on one character, which means you need those ults to run those contents again if you really enjoy that content. But I think just mentioning it rather than ranting about it is good enough, and we can move on to the final con, and that's the server system as a whole. Now, in practice, the server system is fine. You choose a server in a region you want to play in, and either your friends and all choose the same server, or if they happen to be in a different server, you can do some of the content with them, which is listed here on the screen. However, that's only if you're in the same region as you. If you have a friend on the West Coast and you're on the East Coast, well, tough fucking luck, Buttercup, because you ain't gonna fucking see your friends ever again. This wouldn't be nearly as bad if you had like a server transfer feature, but they don't. Or if, say, you get like a level skip, like you could buy a level skip, and you can just or buy or just get one and use it over there, which you can't. If you wanted to play on the West Coast, and your main being on the East Coast, you would have to essentially be creating a brand new account and doing it all over again, just from scratch, like you started the game from the first day. And the amount of boring quests and constant content do it's a daunting task to do because of the amount of stuff you have to do to get to that point, especially if your friends are already tier 2 or above, because you're just not going to catch up to them anytime soon. There's so many quests and they're so boring, and you see them the first time, you're like, okay, you like it the first time, and then the second time, I mean, you're not going to want to see it the second time because it's just not that captivating of a storyline. Anyways, before I get to my conclusion, I would like to take a moment to talk to you about our spawns. No, I'm just kidding. I would like to break down the in-game and all the different forms of in-game content, at least the main major three. For starters, we have Chaos Dungeons, which are the entry into Tier 1, and one of the biggest ways you're going to progress your gear. And let me tell you what, this dungeon system pleases my tiny little monkey brain so much. I mean, look at this. Exactly. It's just a whole bunch of enemies spawning, and your goal is to kill them all. Nothing is more fun than that. This is perfect. Next up, we have the Abyssal Dungeons. And the best way to describe these to my fellow MMORPG gamers out there, it's a hard mode dungeon. I mean, that's it. It's a dungeon with mechanics. The part of this, like Tier 1 and Tier 2, in terms of difficulty, is best compared to the extremes for Final Fantasy XIV. But they get way more difficult later on. There isn't much to say about this mode other than it's real end game, and it's a dungeon boss with mechanics that require brain power, and it honestly has stunning visuals a lot of the time. Finally, we have Guardian raids, and honestly, fuck this. It's like they saw Monster Hunter and was like, oh man, I want to do that too, and then took all of the worst parts of it and put it into a fighting system. I could overlook the fact that we can't see the HP bar, which is dumb in an MMO, because even in Monster Hunter, you can tell where the monster's HP is by looking at it. But nope, not here. But also, everything is random and untelegraphed, which means you probably aren't dodging shit on high ping. Heck, even low ping, you'll probably be constantly being hit by shit. Not to mention the mechanics are very unforgiving, even in the low-level versions of the stuff. You're only going to get 3 deaths on it. So that means if you're in a group of 4, 3 of you can die once, and then you can't do it anymore. So if you get really dumb teammates that refuse to use HP potions, even though you can get them for free, and waste all your revives, you better be able to solo that. Honestly, fuck this mode. I hate it. I have to do it to progress easier, and I hate that I have to do that. I just want to say I love Monster Hunter, so that's not really anything to do with it either. It's just they implemented it terribly, and I hate it. I don't care about anybody's opinion on it. It's terrible. Now, for the conclusion. In short form, should you play Lost Ark? Yeah, it's free. There's nothing better than seeing if you want to play a game than by playing it yourself. And since it's free, you can just do that. Now, the long answer, and my honest opinion, the answer is still kind of yes, but in a weird way. You'll probably download it and like it up until about the 100 mark, actually. 100 hour mark. There's so much to do and explore, it's insane. However, the majority of you will probably quit after that time. Because after all of that exploration is done and you've got nothing left but dailies and gear progression, it'll become more of a chore. Especially when you figure out that the 100 hour it took you to get to Tier 2 isn't even the halfway point because Tier 3 is just so massive. I can see myself playing a lot, and I am enjoying it as of right now, but even I am already starting to become fatigued by its repetitive and gated progression system. The fact that I have over 100 hours in the game and can't even do the high-end content I love doing in games says a lot. So yeah, sure, give it a try, and if you like it for yourself, just be ready down the line when you start to become fatigued from its repetitive gameplay. But once you get to that shining point and you unlock the endgame content, it becomes that much better. After all, the game gets good after only 1,000 hours.